state of laughter. Coherent words are limited during this time, so please stick with us until normal viewing resumes.
This is why Fluke and I have got to be kept off of the same desk after the first days.
I agree. All right, so speaking about Cafe, we had a good chat during the break, and looking back at the history of it, 2-2 for PK in the regular season, 4-1 for OKAMI. Even though it was more balanced coming into the playoffs, you can definitely see why OKAMI would want to come to a map like this. Into the bands, Thatcher for OKAMI is going to be the first one taken away. You would hope to see them take this map, otherwise all of our predictions are wrong, Gio, and we look like idiots.
Would hate that, wouldn't we? That would be pretty terrible. Yeah, it wouldn't be great.
Correct. I'm glad you agree.
I think given what we saw of the Clubhouse and it being as close as it was, and also what we know of the records of these two teams, on this map particularly, I also expect this to be quite close. I mean, when we look at the playoff results, not the regular season that you were mentioning, but the actual playoffs of the Six Masters 2020, as Hap said, OKAMI have gone 7-5 on this twice, 1 win, 1 loss, whereas Pittsburgh Knights went 7-8 on it. Neither of those are particularly decisive scorelines. They're both quite close. And given that these two teams have come up very, very well matched together, it would seem so far today, I definitely expect something similar.
Time will tell. Well, my band this time around. So rather than the Jaeger that we saw, I'm just looking around and seeing in the screens that the operator picks are massive behind us.
Yeah, they're huge.
Have you ever wanted to see...
Look at Thatcher's eyes. Wait, that's Smoke, not Thatcher. Hold on a second. Thatcher's band. Hold on. They all have the same mask, in my opinion. You know, they've all got masks. No, I know they all look very different, but like, it's still...
It's a mask.
Yeah, show your face.
Coward. Mostly. Okie dokie. So we are going to see the Jaeger coming out. That's for Jack Daddy this time around. So I'm expecting to see more capability to hold certain areas. Things like when you're defending on the top floor, the end of White Corridor leading in towards Piano behind a shield. It's kind of the go-to de facto defense. So I think we're going to see them setting up here. Top floor is where we are going to kick things off. What I like from a lot of teams is when they play something like a mute and try and do a really hard hold inside a cigar shop, but you normally have to bring a castle for that, which they've done here. They are lacking the mute, so there is going to be the drone work coming through. It does look like Knights will have an idea as to what is going on and should be able to respond. Taylor Ranger says, the 6 major has destroyed my sleeping pattern, but it's for the greater good.
So it's destroyed mine because I actually have to get up at a real time now. Whereas my
kids these days.
Kids these days.
Their sleeping patterns.
10 seconds remaining.
Yeah, I don't.
Back in my day.
Back in my day, we had to get up so that we could tend the farm.
Yes, because that's what I used to do.
Yeah.
Okay, Alibi is probably the one pick I'm looking at here and thinking it's a... Not a strange pick, but not really one you'd normally look to bring on this site. Like mentioned previously.
Orthodox.
It's unorthodox indeed. I'd say a mute normally is what you're looking towards, or maybe some electrification if you want to hold onto storage wall. We spoke a couple of times yesterday around where you put mirrors inside of storage to hold through the soft wall. This is really interesting now, look at it.
Yeah, that's an ADS, people. You might not be familiar with what those devices are because we didn't get to see them in that last game.
No, we didn't. Look,
those
it's like a Christmas tree.
They're called active defense systems and they prevent projectiles.
I'm far more interested in the fact they've opened up the right-hand side of toilet, mind you, because this normally gets fully reinforced, and if you're going to open anything, it's normally a head-level line through storage wall in towards piano, so you can hold inside storage and spray down the attackers as they try and push. It makes it really difficult for the attackers to assume control of the piano area. So rather than playing inside a White Corridor here, they're playing inside of the bathroom instead and using that to do their dirty work. And here straight away, firebolts coming out into the bottom side of White, and no one's going to be caught out because guess what? No one's playing there, but there's also 3 ADSs in bathrooms and none to protect Yellow. Yellow? White.
Well, the thing also is being able to have those firebolts on the Capitao is a definite side effect of not having a Wamai. That was very close there for QT, who's now sitting on about 5 HP, if that. Looking in through the shield, but it's actually going to be Mangoes who goes down first, and that's your Smoke. That's not who you want to be losing this early.
How smug do you think QT is right now? I've got 3 ADSs, guys. So you guys are getting native, but I ain't going to die because I'm covered. But the Knights are just saying, who cares about Bathroom? We're not that bothered about it, to be fair. We'll leave him there. He's on low HP. He peeks us again. He dies. Let's just get the rest of them with grenades. You're basically down to 2 operators at this point, given how low QT is. So it has been a wonderful start for the Knights.
And that does also mean that if QT does go down due to his low HP, all of those ADSs are basically wasted anyway because the person whom they're protecting is gone. He's still going to be looking in for these angles, though, and hopefully able to get a kill before he meets his untimely demise.
Ooh.
That's
Oh.
Wow, okay, yeah, he got taken down pretty assertively there, and that means Knights have so much space here on their attack.
Call yourself cutie, I call you dead. That's twice in that round he's been domed massively whilst holding angles like that. The first time against the Capitão on the rappel. This time around on trying to peek back through the hole that he'd opened up previously. JKR with the flank though finds 2 for his team. Can he make it a third? Tries to go for the spray, misses out a little bit there and gets tagged by Josh, who was playing from long range inside a cigar. A very decisive first round coming out of the Knights, and bar a spur of the moment play coming out of Joker. Not really any response at all in that first round from OKAMI.
Honestly, a bit of a mess there from them. And I think the fact that Mangoes went down so early was such a huge part of it, because yeah, you had QT playing in bathroom and they'd evidently put a lot of utility in there for the specific protection. The irony being, obviously, he got shot by a gun and not by a projectile, which would have he would have found himself be protected in that situation. But of course, when you don't have that kind of plant denial later on, or even you could call it push denial, I suppose, if you want to prevent the attackers from moving in assertively, it's just... there's so much more free space that you can just take, and you do find having to require other players like Joker at the end there to rotate into a position where he's got to try and make a hero play, because the actual person you want there is no longer to be found.
Well, clearly the boys fancy themselves more as chefs than as pro players at this point, going down into Kitchen for the next round of defense. I know yesterday quite a couple of teams, well, never even bothered going towards Kitchen, focused instead entirely on even things like mining, which was an interesting one. Very rarely see teams bring things like that out. But with the Bandit on side, it's going to be a case of holding down the site for as long as they can. No doubt the focus should be for Knights here to get onto the second floor, start smashing open the floors and getting rid of those gadgets. Replay once here again for Joker with a very interesting flank up White corridor. No drones in place for the attackers. In fact, I remember seeing towards the end of the round, they only had 1 drone left alive on the whole team. So no surprise you can pull that kind of play off. But once you've got that first kill, it's all about adaptation for the attackers. And in a 5 versus 1, you tend to know how that goes.
The thing with that, though, is that if Knights find themselves in a similar position here where they don't have many drones, if any, left, that's going to be much harder on this site, which, as you said, requires a lot more vertical play in some instances, and you don't necessarily have that direct line in through rotates and peak holes that you have laterally like you do on the top floor.
Looking towards these 3 C4s as well for the side of OKAMI. You would think they'd want to play downstairs here and just wait, but Joker's holding up top, trying to waste some time. There's an ADS committed up there, castle barricades, a couple of reinforcements. They're saying, look, if you want control of train, if you really want to push through Bakery and get to site that way, you're going to have to go through me first. And I'm hoping that him by himself is enough. Does have Mangoes providing some support. So now the question comes to Knights. Do they ignore them entirely and just go for a straight push in towards the site? Or do they want to waste a bit of time upstairs clearing them out first and foremost?
It does mean, of course, that if they were to decide to go for that vertical push, they don't have to worry about actually breaching the hatch, because it's already been open so that that rotate was available there for the defenders. Still, so far, looks like a lot coming in through this first floor as Hayward moves in on the Ash into VIP.
This playing a lot like the SSG roam, actually, where they're just going to sit and watch the hatch here, I imagine. Wait for them to drop through and go for kills as they're forced to push down. First C4 comes out from the Bandit towards the Zofia. Nothing being found immediately on towards him. And here comes the drop there, but has he got the angle? He's got an angle, but not the right one, unfortunately. He's watching the corridor itself. They have no idea he's here, but it's such a low-impact position. Unless they're going to rotate up White, it's not really something people do.
Well, Star's still going to be waiting upstairs, just in case he needs to be used for that roam, for those flanking capabilities. Juicy's opening up the floor there in train as well. That's going to allow them to put in some of that vertical pressure, but as I say that, he gets taken down by a C4, and no longer will those holes be able to be made. And also right now, no one in that room to take advantage of those lines of sight either.
Such is the life of an Ash main. You're inside the building in 30 seconds and you've got to sit still for 90 seconds doing nothing. He's just sat waiting, but Stahl decides it's his time to do something, picking up Dino. 5 versus 3, 5 versus 2. It's going all the way over OKAMI. Literally the last round was completely dominated by the Knights, and here it's a total reverse.
Well, there we go. He's going to be able to catch out Josh, as he didn't even expect the Jaeger to be there, but now trying to get that angle in through the fireplace proves to be so much harder. This is where being upstairs so much later for the defender can be a bit difficult if you can't get the rotate down, but it doesn't even matter. A flawless round there for OKAMI, who with their roam game managed to make life just that bit harder for Pittsburgh Knights, no longer able to look quite so dominant in these opening rounds on Cafe.
It's a really good train hold, and I've noted that down to look at later on. It was again how they forced the attackers to kind of have to make decisions. Once that sledge was gone, once he engaged in a fight and lost, there was no point in trying to take that second floor anymore. So they tried to try and go for the gunfights to force the numbers down in their favor. Again, I'll pull back towards the Ash slightly, trying to hold inside of White, assuming there would be a retreat down White stairs and probably up towards Dining. Just quite simply not to be the case, and it was all a bit too easy for the defenders there. Going into round 3, we're going to head towards reading one of the more conventional sites on this map. It plays out a lot like the top floor, so given how round number 1 went, you'd maybe give some lean to the Knights.
Maybe.
Maybe. Possibly.
I mean, actually, what I was going to say is maybe it really depends on what OKAMI are going to be bringing out for the defense, but they're bringing very similar operators to what we saw last time. There's the alibi once again. That mute is going to be there rather than having a castle instead. But even so, it was really a lot of the damage that was dealt in on QT that allowed for the demise of the rest of the team. No smoke, of course, going to be played. We did see that rather unfortunate incident with Mangoes before, but it's not too dissimilar.
It's a slight variance in terms of where they are setting it up here, so rather than worrying about bathroom and saying that's our place to play, it's back on the side itself. Downstairs is where I want to put some focus though, because often with attackers, I'd say often, sometimes teams will completely forego pushing the upstairs out of fear of being C4'd to death as you step your way across the treacherous bar. There are 3 C4s on the side of OKAMI. We mentioned this in the last round, or at least back in round 1. Wasn't a huge deal for them. I think it was the same also on Kitchen. Would like to see some more of those being employed earlier in the round to try and catch them out, rather than thinking, hey, maybe these are useful when the plank comes down. These rounds so far have been very one-sided, so more use earlier on is never a bad thing. Just throw it through the hatch, why not?
Always an option.
It
And
is.
I mean, the thing is also what we saw last time was, or last round rather, Juicy opening up the train floor, but because he got downed to a C4, no one was actually able to utilize those vertical angles. So the question is he going to try and do something similar in, say, Cocktail, but meet the same death and then not necessarily be able to have that capitalized upon by the rest of his attacking team? Well, that remains to be seen as Dino just tries to send in a flash so that the attackers can begin to move on down the white corridor, where they may find that they meet Style, who's taken position.
Just in time manages to pull himself back up, but look at this aggressive push straight down White. They're ready. He's going for a duel. Left, right, but finally hits the kill. Josh going to be the opening death in this round. There is the second one there, but Dino knows better than to challenge Style directly. Wants to make sure he has something at least on White stairs to stop himself being 2v1. Sees one of the peak. There are 3 players floating around here. He's got to hit something, but ultimately hits nothing. C4 comes up, but no one is left in White, so they can go and recover that C4 and save it for a rainy day.
Couldn't quite decide who he was going for, and also with the mute jammer still remaining there, it's going to be really difficult to even be able to drone out these players who are present in Cocktail, so you just have to rely on your line of sight. Hayward nearly managed to get one onto one of the players in there, but not quite able to land it. Now with just a minute remaining, and Knights have still struggled to break into this part of the map, below which is the site.
The hard thing is you're relying on the Habana to get this wall open, and it can be impact tricks if you're not careful, and that's where I'm looking towards someone like Cutie here with the, I assume with the Pokeballs on side to deal with those. Honestly, it's an obsession calling these things Pokeballs at this point. A kill trade comes in those. Cutie, speaking about him just a second ago, will clutch Hayward after he brings down Jack Daddy. That puts some focus in towards the site now, surely, as the attack from Vertical is not going to be a thing. 1 versus 4 for Strider by himself. Where have we seen this one before? Oh yeah, last round, and it didn't go so well. It's going to be the same trend again in this round. Yet another one going the way of OKAMI on the defense.
Much stronger defense there from OKAMI compared to what we saw on the first round. And yeah, a lot of it really was the fact that Knights obviously wanted to come in and take that vertical control, and they failed to. And that meant that, as you correctly noted, when the Hibana wanted to be able to open up a wall, there still hadn't been that preparation that you require before that can even be done. Then you've got the risk of something like an impact trick, and suddenly you find yourself in a position where there's basically no time left, but you have no way of setting up the coordinated breach into the site itself. You're still faffing around upstairs.
Faffing about. Such a wonderful term, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I imagine for many people not quite familiar with what it means either. It's just like messing about, not really, you know, you're faffing here, you're faffing there. You're not really looking towards what it is you're meant to be going for.
It's like what your mum would say to you if she's trying to get you in the car so that you can all go somewhere and you're taking ages. She's like, stop faffing about.
Stop faffing about and tie your shoelaces. Get your coat on. Get in the car. Deep recessed memories there.
Yeah,
being brought back up.
We've all been there.
We've all been there. We've been here before as well. Top floor, just as we saw back in round number 1. So we've seen the full rotation come through, and it looks like we're going to see the similar setup coming out again, where it's going to be a bathroom hold. Now, the adaptation I need to see this time around, if they do want to play someone inside a pixel, which is where Mangoes is right now, we need to see an ADS on this wall. Otherwise, he is getting naded out for free.
Guess what they brought this time? They actually did bring a mute. This is one of your big question marks. Oh, I do love a mute.
I do love a mute, I do.
It was one of your big question marks back from the first round, was the fact that you didn't see that. And I think, you know, okay, you look very happy because
I'm clapping like a
ADS
child. I'm like,
placed,
yay!
not all been placed in the bathroom.
Correct.
Go on now on that pixel angle at the very least. So it's a bit more dispersed protection there for the defenders here. It looks like Mangoes is probably going to be centered in the same place that he was before. That could make him vulnerable to a nade again if he's not careful.
Where's the ADS? Where's the shield? Where's the mute jammer? Normally you put a lot of utility inside a cigar if you're going to go for this hold. Otherwise, as you say, it's a risk of just having this so feared out from behind you, or you get grenades come singing in.
This is exactly what I was going to say, is now that you have the mute, you very typically see at least one, but even sometimes two centered around Cigar. And it obviously makes it so hard for the drones to come in. It means that it's so much more of a risk for the attackers. Not something that they have done.
I'm so sorry. I just turned your microphone off.
Des just straight up pressed the mute button on my mic. And I could see the heart attack that he was having. Well, there are the flames that are coming through into White Corridor, but once again, not going to be catching anybody just yet. And that's going to be a lot of damage as Cutie tries to jump into the back store and crawl into the safety of the freezer, but there's still no one really around to be able to help him out.
Jet's got to be careful because Dino's managed to work his way inside the side here. If he tries to push across and jump into storage to get his old buddy, old pal back up, might find himself getting taken down in the process. So his focus here is, nope, I'm going to hold the spot. QT, go and play somewhere else. Clearly, you're much more prone to being shot here than anyone else.
Absolutely, and already straight away we can see Knights haven't been able to move in as quickly as they were able to last time, which is already a plus for OKAMI. Now it's still going to be Mangoes receiving a lot of the pressure here as he gets flashed out, and he's going to be returning things with one of those smoke canisters to try and prevent anyone pushing in. But so far they're not going to be doing so, and he's relatively safe for now. Still has to be aware of any potential projectiles, but it looks like Jack Daddy could be getting ready to send in a pre-fire as one of those players sits there on the window, but he isn't quite able to catch him.
I think it was Juicy, who does take a lot of damage, down to about 5 HP. Dino going to finish things off onto Mangoes. That's the smoke gone. So about 2 minutes and 15 seconds wasted inside a Cigar. That is mega coming out of the defenders, but now it's a question of what can they do with the time advantage. They've still got control of White. They've still got control of Bathroom ever so slightly. I say that they've now backed away and said, look, if you guys want it, you can have it. You haven't got the time to play with here. You haven't got Juicy on side anymore as it's been taken down by Style. Puts us into a 4 versus 4 and only 20 seconds to go.
Jack Daddy looks like he could have been facing the wrong way, but he gets taken down by Dino before the Sophia's even able to do anything. Knights are being watched here, but they are okay. There was a team kill right at the end, which was able to help finish things off for them, but the attack did work out in the end for them. And so many things were going right for OKAMI, as you mentioned, so much time shaved off by that presence in Cigar. Also, the placement of the bulletproof camera across the other side of the bar meant that as they started to filter in that way, they were being consistently watched, and Joker could pass on all the information. But as things started to get a little bit more aggressive at the end, and with the team kill as well, certainly didn't help, Knights actually managed to pull that one through.
They did, and it almost feels like the last map again. We were sat at 2-2 at a point, and we were like, oh, okay, there's a couple of rounds there. It's not the end of the world. And then they carry on to win the whole map. Who knows how the Knights will proceed. I've got to, by the way, give a shout out to Hap for this, because he says it in such a muted voice that we barely catch it at the time. Dynamite.
Dynamite.
Thermite plus Dino, and I was like...
I said Fragno.
You said Fragno.
But Dynamite makes so much.
Fragno is a stretch. I'm really impressed you somehow managed to get from those two words to producing that. It's not even called Fragmite normally. That's like an evolution of the word.
Fragno. It's just such a stupid.
Could you imagine the drawing? Someone goes, oh, here's Dynamite, and he looks really imposing, done by a proper artist, and then there's you or me just drawing on a piece of paper, and like, here's Fragno, and it just looks like some child's drawing.
Sounds like the worst Marvel character, like the worst X-Men.
He ain't saving no one, that's for sure, and he definitely isn't opening walls. And I think, as like Milos said, it's also worth iterating on. It used to be back when he had frag grenades, he was around as Fragmite, whereas these days it's because when a Thermite player frags out, they're Fragmite.
Don't look at me like that, Milos. You want to have an opinion? You pick up a headset.
He will. Don't you worry. On his notes page, I can already see him scribbling, right, Flame Geo.
Oh, he does that.
Step 1.
Does that regardless. Well, either way, we are heading back down to kitchen here.
Same hold.
Yep, pretty much exactly the same. Oh no, mind. I was looking at one of the hatches there, and I was thinking, is that been reinforced? But no, the fireplace one. I was thinking, why they reinforced that? But they hadn't. It's just how it looked through.
Yeah, because you see a reinforcement through it.
Yeah, through the freezer. What I do find interesting though is where Mango's is positioned, because we saw the Ash on the side of Knights be able to take control here of VIP really early because there weren't any defenders there.
He was there, but what he did was rotate up white stairs to support the fight that kicked off, and we saw that kind of awkward 3v1 on the top floor for the attacker that Mango's ultimately was throwing C4s onto Josh, who was up on the top of white, for example. So it's quite a fluid position to play in. I don't know if it was out of luck that Hayward was expecting him to return back down white, and that was the kill that he was waiting for. But as you mentioned, it was Hayward in there, probably sat there for a good minute and a half, 2 minutes waiting for the rotation that just never came. And that made the round quite a 4 versus 5 for the longest time.
Well, obviously there isn't even going to be an Ash on the side as he's decided to bring the IQ.
Oof.
But that's going to be Joker, the first one to fall. Castle no longer there. We saw him a couple of rounds ago really try and clutch things out desperately at the end of one of those mostly lost rounds. But he won't be able to do that anymore. And that means Juicy can begin to open up the floor. He's got the protection here of Hayward, which isn't something that was there last time. When Juicy got taken out by the C4, which could still happen, given that the mute is playing down below, there was really no one around to take advantage of those vertical holes.
I thought Jack was waiting around. I think he has got the C4 in hand, just waiting to see where the sledge strikes next. Didn't feel confident enough to go for it a second ago. He has stepped out now to start focusing on service, so won't really have the opportunity now to get that. That moment has passed. We'll have to wait for him to return, as he has done now. So Juicy zipping around these 3 rooms here, just trying to say, we need this open, we need this open, we need this open. And it's all down to me, the hero of the moment.
There you go. You actually see the mute rotating now. So if he does get this on the position, because Juicy's just stood still as he, I assume, looks on his drone. Yeah, you can actually see it downstairs there. It's going to be Hayward who's starting to try and use these holes to apply pressure down below, but still so far nothing.
You have 1 C4 left for Mango's here to make use of. Currently, he's playing at the bottom of white as he has done previously. So it's almost like the ground they held upstairs before has been sacrificed. They now want to hold on to restaurant and white stairs for the most part. Bit of a war going on, though, through the wall into bakery. It's going to be Cutie here in a spot trying to fight back, but Strider strikes big as Dino comes up with another one himself. It's 4 versus 2. Make it a 4 versus 1 as Plant is going down. I was going to say another late round upset again while someone's planting. Please be still my beating heart. But Knights are still the ones to come out on top again. That's 2 rounds back to back. And dare I say, Gio, every single one of us might walk away wrong today about our prediction if they keep this up.
That is indeed a daunting prospect.
I'm just happy to see Hap's flawless record shattered. I could not stand the ego on that guy because, you know, he says a lot of words. He likes to brag.
He does.
He's a quiet person, really.
Like, oh yeah, I'm a Prisma champion. Yeah, just because you weren't a champion in CL, which you tried to qualify for and didn't get into, like, you got to.
Wow.
He's got to be a champion
Jesus,
of something,
Gio.
I suppose.
Who told you where his jugular was?
We were talking yesterday on the broadcast about whose jugular was going to be attacked next. I guess it's Hap. That's what happens, Mr. 7 and 3.
What people don't know is that in the production studio, what they've got is like a spin the wheel, like a wheel of misfortune. In the morning, they throw a dart at it, and then we get the calls that the broadcast starts. Guys, today, Hap is the target. And we're like, okay, we'll do our best. And we're going to say it makes it easy for us.
When you're talking about the production studio, I thought you were going to say the production studio hear everything we say, and they probably just sit there day after day disappointed that we're still having a go at each other. Like, why did we bring all these people together? They hate one another.
Fluke chose two very choice French words yesterday that we understood about 3 hours later did not mean what he thought they meant. And we had a conversation in the back room earlier with a couple of the French staff working here, and they just laughed, and they were like, "You really said that?" He was like, "Yep."
You can go back and watch the pod.
Yeah.
If you speak French, I want to know what it was.
And it was on Twitter. And he said to I posted it up that it happened, and the only people that liked it were French people. And I was like, ah. That tells you how bad it was. It wasn't terrible. He didn't go out there and offend everybody or say anything daft. Just include an extra letter which completely changed the meaning of a word. The meaning of this round has changed, and maybe the meaning of life for Jack Daddy, as he's now been shot down by Hayward from all out towards spawn. Normally, I'm used to seeing people spawn peek me, but this is gross.
Yeah, that's pretty disgusting there. And actually, one of the things I was thinking is, you know, we're heading back to reading. OKAMI successfully defended this last time, but we said the same about Kitchen, and then Knights adapted and took it. Could this be the same situation here on reading? And so far, with a shot like that at the beginning, Knights are straight away putting things into their own hands.
It's another C4 off the table, so you're definitely not going to be complaining. This vertical hole they're looking at, and we mentioned before around turning bar into a minefield with all those C4s that can play downstairs. You have got Joker playing just below. I'm not sure if he's on the ground floor, mind you. Is he on second or ground floor? He is on second floor. Okie dokie, that makes sense. I was going to say, if he's downstairs around kitchen, I am very confused.
Maybe he wanted a snack. But
boy's hungry.
Hungry
for kills.
I'm actually pretty hungry. But I guess it turns out that that's not the case. Now that's going to be one of those Vulcan shields being taken down.
I appreciate how he did this as well. Didn't bother burning out one of those impacts, which can be so valuable later on. Just thought, look, it is risky. I'll get close. We've droned it out. We know there's no one there. I'll just blow it out by shooting it. So nice bit of mindfulness from Josh.
He's got to be aware of mangoes, though, if he does decide to start peeking on down the white corridor. But it looks like he's going to be utilizing the holes that have already been made there in the wall. Instead of rotating around, but Mangoes will continue to hold on to the white corridor as everyone else convenes over towards Cigar. But they've got to be aware of style. He's sneaking up on them, but is he going to be able to take a 1v4? Does he know what he's getting into? It doesn't look like he does. Taken down fairly decisively, and that leaves just 2 players remaining on the defensive side.
If he got away with that one for free, I'd be questioning where the hell the flank drone was. On the red stairs, 2 kills strike back from the side of OKAMI. The Strider goes, forget about this comeback. This is our story. Knights take another 4-2 at the split. This is looking impressive, Gio. And like I said, we might all be wrong, but my God, will there be celebrations in the Knights camp today?
This is the part where, in a normal event, we'd be like, oh, you know, they're rolling off the momentum of being in a LAN and they've got the crowds cheering. And I was about to say it and then remembered that, no, they're actually still just playing at home. But even so, you never know. It could still be partly like, this is a really big deal. This is a really big event. This is our major. We've put in so much prep, so much work, and we're feeling it. We're feeling ourselves.
I'm not sure on how the region normally plays out or how these two teams will play out when it comes to defensive records or attacking records, the win rates they see across most of these maps. But to have 4 attacking rounds on Cafe shows a great deal of proficiency on the Knights side. And the scariest part is, wildcards still wait for whichever team win this game. Neither of them have done particularly well against them historically. So it's like cool, we've beat this team and we've got through to the final against the strongest team in the region.
It's like when you think you've beaten the boss. But
and then he transforms into like something 3 times bigger, 4 times stronger, and the health bars that just never seem to end, and it's like, great. It is, but if they can do it here, they potentially could go on to do it against another team. I'm looking at the setup out of Knights, and it's a very similar one. Let's talk about Zaid first and what he said. We just got the Silver Charm from the 6 Major Pog.
The 6 Major Pog?
I love how that's now such like a normal, everyday conversational word as well.
I don't.
Pog. I've heard you say Pog before.
Yeah, no, I do.
Don't lie to me, Gio.
I've been guilty of that in the past.
Big Pog, bro. Congratulations on the Silver Charm. Keep watching for the rest.
I think the worst one that actually managed to sneak its way into my lexicon was Omega Lol.
Omega Lol, yeah. I've seen that used a lot as like a reaction in like non-Twitch chat conversations, but never really in person.
No, that was definitely one that I started saying for a while. But that's
well,
embarrassing.
Thank God
Let's not
you
talk
stopped.
more about
That's
that.
all I'll say. Now, looking at the setup coming out of Knights, don't worry, we aren't on Clubhouse. It isn't an SSG roam because those 3 operators are in play. It's going to be that setup that we spoke about before. Castle barricades going down inside a Cigar. I'd expect a shield to appear around by Juicy at some point soon. We've got the barbed wire down. We're going to have jammers down. There's pests all around as well. It's all about causing an information blackout for the side of OKAMI here to try and force mistakes once they start getting in their way inside the building.
You know how they have all the tweets that come up? I think Fluke's trying to get his way onto it, but he doesn't realize that the tweet pops up on my phone, so I already know. But Whoever does the social media, get Fluke's tweet on.
Don't. No. In fact, yes, give it to Fluke
Yeah.
because Hap has tried so many times and hasn't yet got on.
Rub it in Hap's face.
It's got to be a running meme that he's not allowed on the broadcast.
Not even to cast.
No, that's it. He's been taken up the studio and escorted to safety as we speak.
Speaking of being escorted to safety, that's what Juicy's going to be doing for himself as he makes himself a nice little rotate down the hatch.
Escort yourself to safety.
Just escort yourself to safety using a shotgun, as you know
That's
that
like
all of those attackers.
That's the polite way of saying please remove yourself from the building.
It's like, all right, bye.
Please escort yourself from the premises. He's still in there, of course.
It's like the tuxedo mask meme where he's like,
My work here is done. But you didn't do anything.
Exactly. Well, okay. Speaking of people doing things, though, Style is going to be doing that. Removing the Jaeger from the side of Knights. Starting to open things up a bit more for OKAMI.
Hey, it's 2 jammers.
Hey, imagine having more
Struck
than one
goals.
jammer in,
I know.
in Skull.
It's because you can block away drones coming in from
Please.
any direction, essentially. You can drop them coming in from the south, you can drop them coming in from Bar itself, and potentially looking in towards the north, too. It's that newer hatch that you're probably worried about drones dropping in through, and that's where you stick a couple of pests to catch them as they come leaping through. Bags.
Exactly that. Well, there's going to be the start of the X-Kairos there, not going to be impeded in any way.
So they want to go for a bags plant, I think, but there is a camera sat here, so they need to get rid of that first and foremost. There we go, blown up by the breaching rounds. We speak about Ash quite a lot lately. She isn't this dedicated entry fragger anymore. You needed to be using those 3 flashbangs in the back pocket as well as the breaching rounds. Very useful for clearing out all of those ADSs and the magnets when they're present, which of course they are not in this game.
I like the pressure that's being applied here onto Dino by putting the last of the Hibana pellets onto that backstore wall. It forces him out of position, not necessarily so well put to be able to deal with the plant should it come out. And that's exactly what's going to start happening as Mangoes goes in for it. Few kills coming out for OKAMI, but the diffuser has been planted. Dino forced back into freezer because of those X-Kairos pellets, and Mango's going to be adding on to the kill count.
Josh is trying to do what he can, but in a 1 versus X situation here, plant down, I don't really see how he swings his way back into this one. This could be the perfect round for OKAMI, almost as perfect as that execute was. C4 sings through, but finds no one. It will be a flawless round, and OKAMI go, boys, don't count us out just yet. And Chio, of course. Don't count us out of this game just yet. We still have things to do, and that's exactly how they... The way they closed it out towards the end there I thought was really good with the execute from the Capitao, smoking out the bar area so no one could push through there, burning out the player that was stuck inside a freezer, couldn't push through the flames to go and contest bags at close range. The only option they really had was to have someone pushed through white and then spray him down into bags once it had been opened up. That wasn't going to be an easy task because there were members of the attackers also holding that angle. So they had everything covered, and it goes to show it doesn't require a whole lot of control to make these sort of things happen. Skylight was enough and piano control to close that round out in decisive fashion.
Yeah, that was a really well-controlled round there from OKAMI. And actually, one of the really interesting things to me so far on this map is that when you compare it to Clubhouse, we saw so many plants, or at the very least attempted plants, from both sides on Clubhouse. This is the first time we've actually seen a plant here on Cafe. So straight away, very different style of play, or at least very different
Focus.
win condition, I suppose you could say. They've had to waste, I think, a lot more time. Or actually, no, that's the wrong way of putting it. They've had to fight through a lot more things before they can actually reach the objective in the first place so far on Cathay. Whereas in Clubhouse, on a lot of the rounds, bar a couple, it really looked like it didn't take long for them to actually make it to the site.
Real Siege Sports. What's a man got to do to get featured on the stream? Well, you've clearly found the answer at R6 Esports, hashtag 6Major. Throw us some questions. How about a riddle or two? I'll take anything at this point. Give me a question, and we'll see what we can do.
Someone tweet Des a riddle.
Not just me, you as well. You're involved in this. It's a shared effort. Whether you like it or not, it gets shown on stream, and we have to respond.
Do we? I don't believe that's my...
I'm pretty sure it's in there somewhere. If you check the small print, I'm pretty sure it says...
Small print says Derry sucks. That's the worst thing I can think of. Brilliant.
I love how that's as far as your offense goes. You're like the kind of guy who someone makes
not.
a joke against you and you just go, your mum, and it's like, great.
That's not true. I'm very limited on what offense I can give because a lot of my offense is not PG-13. So on broadcast, it gets very limited.
Well, Milos is just there wiggling a finger at you.
Yeah,
it wasn't really wiggling, it was like circling.
He doesn't approve of his kids.
It does feel like he's the dad when all 4 of us at the end of the show are stood here just chatting and laughing, and he's like, kids, we've got to end the show. Calm down, calm down.
Yeah, that's really what...
Poor guy. I really do feel sorry for him. Starting to feel sorry as time goes by for OKAMI, I should say, after that last round going their way. Yep, it looked good, but let's not forget the previous 3 rounds all went the way of the Knights, who looked prolific on the attacking side. And OKAMI are the ones who have got to show they can do the same to make sure the second map of their choosing, let's not forget, goes their way. Otherwise, you'd probably call this the upset of the season.
I like this positioning here from Juicy. It just does mean that he's perfectly ready, just in case anyone does try to come in through Cocktail. Joker's deciding not going to do that, though. Instead, going to shoot out the white stairs window, applying pressure there instead, and not yet going to get caught out in some of those potential C4s.
I was about to say, why is he blowing this up? And then I was like, okay, actually, he did intend to do that. Fair enough. Normally, because when you're getting droned out, you expect someone to be following up. If they know you're there, they're like, right, there's a guy there pushing from white window, pushing from down white corridor at the same time. We can kill him. So pop it out to make sure you aren't going to get pursued by the player inside a white corridor. Jump over the balcony and get yourself downstairs safely. Who's outside? No one knows. It's a mystery.
'Tis but a mystery. A lot of these defenders are very statically positioned, just waiting to see if there's someone they can catch out, and Dino is so close to doing so, and he does get it. In fact, actually, it's Josh who is able to confirm that kill, but nonetheless, a crossfire. That's a great shot there from Josh, just catching out with the shotgun, make that another one there. And it looks like OKAMI are really getting shut down here with just Mangoes remaining. He doesn't last much longer. And we saw a flawless round for OKAMI last time. It's a flawless round for Knights this time as they try to push back.
Josh, 3K on the smoke, playing in the most anticipated spot in the game. And I was so concerned for a second because they were crouch walking into bar when there is a camera sat on the wall, watching through bar, and I was like, is no defender on it? Is no one calling this out? Turns out it's more of a bait than anything else because the player downstairs, staring through the floorboards, in you push. It's as free a kill as you are ever going to find. Good defense coming out of the Knights, 5-3. That puts them at 2 rounds, Gio, and they take this series. Never thought at the start of the day I'd be seeing a world where the Knights beat OKAMI, given again how the results in playoffs and in the regular season went.
Hap said 7-5, right?
Yes, because then Fluke stepped in again being a poker connoisseur and was like, I raise you 8-6.
Well, that's how things are going right now. It certainly doesn't look like it's heading anywhere towards an 8-6. OKAMI do have what it takes, I do believe, and if they can claw their way back, then maybe we will be seeing something like that. But they're going to have to show a more decisive attack as we head down here into Kitchen. And this is actually a really interesting setup that we are going to see from Knights, who have opted to bring the captain, someone who you said you always enjoy seeing come out in professional play.
I do. Normally as part of the SSG roam, because it's part of this sort of rush setup that teams like to employ, you just drop a bunch of those down. Even on other maps, the reason why I like it is because as soon as you know that there is one on a map, you know there are several more waiting for you, and you need to get drones in. You've got to watch every single doorway that you run through. And especially in regions where rounds tend to go down to the wire in the final closing seconds, you don't have time to check every single doorway as you push through the map in an attempt to get a plant down or to try and go for a trade. We've already seen, actually, the other day, a round was ended by a Capcan trap. So it just goes to show the impact they can have if teams aren't prepared for them.
The question is, are OKAMI going to be prepared for it? Is this something that they are going to be expecting, or are they going to get caught out by it? Evidently, what we saw in the last round was they very much got caught out what it was Knights were bringing, but so far have not yet had the opportunity to attack onto this site. It was something that they were able to defend fairly well. This could be kind of close here, as those drones do get taken down, but it does mean that Juicy knows that there is a player on the rappel there. Gonna have to be aware. Was that a drone that he just narrowly missed? He's gonna go in for the jump out instead, and he does secure that kill there onto Joker. He can't get back inside. All right, there we go. Exactly. Getting stuck on the door there, and that means the Drag Daddy gets the last laugh.
If they'd prepped that, it would have been big, but I love how that played out there. Knew he was dancing around a window, killed 2 drones immediately, sprints to the north, impact nades the window, jumps out and finds a kill. Yes, he's traded out, but it's that oh-so-critical Capitao that has been taken down because his smokes, the asphyxiating bolts, now called fire bolts, I believe, are just so effective at clearing defenders away or going for these crucial executes. We already saw them use it earlier on to attack the top floor. Without that on side, it's not world-ending, but it definitely takes away a lot of strength to these executes.
Straight away, a lot of this utility just taken out effortlessly by the IQ as Jack Daddy, who holds one of those kills to his name, just moves on through the map. again, some of this pressure can begin to be applied as the sledge takes control of train. Not going to be able to see anybody just yet. The question is, have Knights all moved around? It's at the point in the map where the point in the game where you would have expected them to do so, and that is what we're seeing. Everyone remaining is downstairs, but not necessarily directly onto the site. So it might be kind of hard for these attacking players to find anyone below them to apply pressure to.
Big push, well not a big push, more as Mango's by himself trying to make something happen inside a bakery. Gets himself traded out, but the critical thing, and this is what kind of confuses me, is he had the diffuser. That is now down on the ground in bakery. So the whole team of OKAMI are going to have to rotate to try and fight back for it, take it, and get a plant all inside 30 seconds. I hate to push on an individual here, but that's probably just costing the round.
Yeah, now OKAMI are really running low on manpower. They can just easily get those shots down through, as QT proves. Dino completely unaware of where he was positioned. That means that those crossfires that are available from Small Bake weren't really there, but straight away Jack Daddy gets taken down. Diffuser is still lying cold on the ground on its own. There's only so much that can be done here, and it's really, really not that much, as Knights secure themselves another round win.
That's really frustrating. I feel bad because I don't want to harp on the guy, but Mango's literally just threw the round away there in the space of 2 seconds. If he'd gone in and won both firefights, sure, you're a hero, but the chance of you running in, winning 2 firefights, and then proceeding to get the plant down is so limited, especially without anyone there to trade you. So with that diffuser cold on the ground, the rest of the team's plans are completely broken apart. They can't sit there holding the angles they were on anymore. You need to rotate to go and try and recover. And that might end up costing them the game here. Going into round 10, they are at match point. None of us came in today expecting to see the Pittsburgh Knights take a 2-0 in this series to face off against Wildcard in the grand final, but it's about to happen, Gio.
I mean, maybe. There still is a chance. We've seen reverse sweeps happen before, but judging how things have been going, it doesn't look all that likely.
No.
And yes, all of us will have to swallow our words and swallow our pride, given that we all predicted OKAMI to get this, but it's such a testament to evidently the work that has been going in from Pittsburgh Knights to prepare for this competition and for this event. And it really shows off just how close the skill is here in the ANZ region. One of the things that people spoke about when we were doing our research for this is Wildcard, they're obviously way ahead. OKAMI and Pittsburgh a little bit closer, but you know, there's still a decent distance between the two. You've got this top 2 teams, and that's kind of what it comes down to. But actually, that doesn't appear to be the case.
It doesn't. I imagine here they want to tear this wall down. I was going to say, Juicy needs to get in towards Cigar, like, why are you blocking me out, bro? Gonna lock them both inside instead, and the mute jammers are going down, as we speak about quite a lot. Imagine you'll see a couple, if not 3, going down in here. And it's about this extended hold, but let's not forget what OKAMI did last time around. They were forced down to the final 20 seconds. They still managed to push through and close things out, even with the mute and Mozzie on side blocking away all of that information. Beautiful execute coming out of them, showing that you don't need a lot of control. Piano is enough, and as long as you have the Capitao up on the skylight, that is all that you need. So we'll see this time around how Knights respond, or if OKAMI can keep on extending this game, as you say, potentially forcing it into overtime.
I want to be able to see the support that could come out from Josh, as well as the use of the ACOG. And carrying the bulletproof camera alongside what Dino can provide. He still has his in pocket, so not yet placed it down, but it does mean there is all that extra potential information that they could have on OKAMI as they begin to head on in. It could also be incredibly useful, given that they brought the Capitao, and they might use those smoke bolts to conceal a plant, for example. Being able to see through that will give the defenders a really big advantage. But yet to see how that plays out, as that opening castle barricade does get blown to pieces, just like Juicy. Mango securing that first kill.
Good bit of focus being drawn towards those south windows, just for Mangoes to slip up behind them and find himself a free frag. This should mean that Cigar is blown wide open for them. Need to deal with that jammer still before they can really proceed in towards the bar, but they should know by now it is safe. They have piano control, they have Cigar control. This is the start of the attack they needed to piece together, like in the last round, to get control of bags and go from there. So the Capitao up on the skylight is the one thing we watch out for. We saw how much impact he had last round just by using a couple of bits of utility.
Well, it looks like the Jaeger could be in position to maybe move on up, but instead he's going to be changing his mind and moving more towards the downstairs bar VIP corridor. Going up the white stairs will allow him to potentially get a flank that OKAMI aren't expecting. but even so, it means they still retain this level of control that they have over on the west side of the map. Now, we saw before Dino get forced back into the freezer from his position because of how OKAMI decided to place these X-Kairos. Right now, he's still positioned in backstore, but he could find his value be decreased if he finds himself in a similar situation.
I worry that this is setting up exactly the same way as the last round is my biggest concern. They're even trying to force them out of freezer an alternative way here and just saying, nope, get back. There's a Habana coming through. Still 2 left to open up bags if they need it. In fact, he's gone through all 3. Naughty Dino. Jesus, see you later style. Get styled on, dare we say. Same setup coming in here. Smokes are in. Firebolts are in. Going for a plant inside of bags. Hayward here really needs to push now if he wants to make this happen. Going to start moving his way forwards, but not in the right nick of time. However, kills are flying through for the other side. They're watching the angle. Just like in the last round, nothing has changed. It's a 3 versus 1. OKAMI in a position to be able to close this round out. And Strider, unfortunately, buddy, I think you guys might have to wait a few more rounds to see if you can still close this one out. He'll try and do what he can. A flank up red clearly going to be the answer, but with about 15 seconds to go until we are past the point of no return for that diffuser. You can't even get inside the top of the stairs here. Cigars being held from the hatch by the Capitale. Death from above, dare they say, whether it's through fire, smoke, or bullets. Another good execute coming out of the side of OKAMI.
And that really is the only site that they've been able to get both times now on the attack. And they've been able to make the plant both times as well. Feeling very confident in their strategy that they've gone for there, but that does mean now that Pittsburgh Knights can opt to go somewhere else, which is exactly what they're doing. Back to Reading Room, which is where they came in round 8, and this was a flawless round for them, where we saw that amazing 3K from Josh, which was very ballsy and not something that you can really expect to see every time, but it did especially make it so hard for OKAMI to take control of the top floor. They were being quite aggressive and quite rushing, though. You know, we noted how they didn't necessarily take the time out to drone and figure out where all the defenders were. They kind of just went for it. And if they play a little bit more cautiously and carefully, it could be the time to see a different result.
It's not often that lightning strikes twice like that. Josh finding a 3K for a consecutive round would be, I'd say by pure chance. I don't want to say he's a bad player because he's evidently not at 10 and 4 playing on a hard anchor role. It's more just comes down to the opportunity, everything lining up the way that it did would be the struggle. There's a great question. Pineapple on pizza, yay or nay? I'm pretty sure you're a nay person, but I'm a yay person.
Well, I don't have particularly strong opinions because I don't care whether someone eats pineapple on pizza or not, but I just don't like pineapple full stop. So I
don't either.
I personally wouldn't have it on pizza, but that isn't because I feel strongly about whether it belongs on pizza. It's because I feel strongly about whether it belongs.
Quick question then, have you ever tried it?
Have I ever tried
As in tried pineapple on pizza?
Yeah, no, disgusting.
Fair enough. I'll say if you haven't tried it on pizza, I don't like it by itself. I don't like pineapple juice.
Like, it doesn't strike me as something that is a huge abomination to humanity like people pretend it is or act like it is.
Look, the internet loves over-glamorizing disagreements like
oh, yeah, sensationalizing. Like, I'm trying to think of another equivalent that I might have strong opinions on, but as the pineapple on pizza debate, I don't really feel that.
The active debate amongst the talent team the last few days has been what films we have or haven't watched, and that is another example.
There are many films I haven't seen.
When someone turns around and goes, I don't really watch films, it still turns into a massive raging debate. Hayward picking up JKR, that's the Capitale gone. We touched on this previously, and the damage that can do is untold. For this site, maybe a little bit less so, but the executes coming in is the big deal. Oh, beans on toast. That's a debate for the ages.
Luke just walked up to us with a notebook that just said beans on it. And I was like, that's not a film. I haven't seen that film. Beans on toast is disgusting.
Nah, I'm a fan.
No.
Look, this can be saved for a more appropriate time, I think, given the gravity that kind of currently exists on the back of Knights, but we will debate beans on toast another time. I'm more than happy to do so.
I'm down.
Cool. 6 and 4 at the minute then. It's, again, the round for Knights here to take the series 2-0. OKAMI were the hot favourites coming into this, given how every single instance these guys have come against each other before, they were the ones walking away as the favourites. They are down 0-2. It's unbelievable. One in the back corner right here, going to blow things out. Josh is isolated by himself. Can't quite pick him off, mind you. He's in fact managed to skip his way across to the right and get another smoke out. So he's going to stay alive, albeit only momentarily. If he pulls off a 3K from here, I'd be very impressed given his HP bar, Gio.
Definitely, and there we go. Straight away, not going to be able to do that as Mango secures the kill onto him. And this will give OKAMI a lot of space that they didn't have last time. That's why we have these players down below. Oh, I was going to say Dino is one of them, and he could be holding on to a C4 if that's what he brought, but straight away going down, and that means the site is empty. Hayward's going to be there too, but Strider isn't, and this looks like it's going all in the direction of OKAMI.
The reverse angles, it's constantly this vertical fight. This could turn out to be the third in the round if this kill goes the way of Juicy, but the Sledge has rotated far away. They have got a lot of time to play with here. 45 seconds and they're in a 4 versus 2. I'd definitely say getting inside of pillars and looking to go for a push that way would be the play.
Got to see if that's what they're going to decide to do. As you say, just over 30 seconds remaining and the defenders are in dire straits. When you're on match point, you don't want to be losing it like this because it just gets too close for comfort. But that's going to be a shot there onto Hayward, and it leaves just Juicy alone on his own.
I don't know where he is though. C4 comes up towards the doorway. Will he find one for himself? He does try, but sadly there is one on high to finish him off. OKAMI take this round, and again, we're coming down to it. Round number 12 to determine which way this goes. It ended 7-5 on the last map, to Knights. Can OKAMI snatch it away on their own map pick and force us through to map number 3?
Well, this is the real big thing now, is they kind of have to go down to Kitchen if they want to be going somewhere that they feel confident on, because they did win it in round 9. But if OKAMI prove once again that they can adapt on a round that they failed to attack successfully before, that puts Pittsburgh Knights into a situation where now all of the sites they've been to have been won by the attackers, and they no longer have that advantage in the superior strategical planning. So they really have to rely on getting this map, or getting this round, if they are to hope to guarantee themselves this map.
But you know what they've got to do, right? Remember what happened in the last time we were here?
They got to shoot.
No, not even that. Remember Mangoes?
I do remember Mangoes.
Inting?
Yeah, I remember
just run into bakery. I want these baked goods, please, and then just finds himself dead with the diffuser
That was
on
me
the ground.
this morning when I went to get breakfast.
You know what he wanted to do? He wanted to fill that briefcase, the diffuser, whatever you want to call it, with a bunch of goods and take them back for the boys.
Oh.
But that was the crucial thing. It was a mistake caused by OKAMI that led to them losing that round. I wouldn't say any of it really came down to what Knights did in any strong fashion. I'm not saying they're not playing this site well. I just think a lot of it was down to OKAMI in the previous round. So assuming they can say, right, this time round, no big errors like that, and it's basically then back to being a 50-50 as to who is going to take it.
Well, we'll see what Mangoes does do, because there have been a couple of moments where he's been playing it pretty well. But as you just correctly pointed out to me there's an Oryx on the board, something we haven't seen so far, and that could give Knights the opportunity to get those late round flanks, which they'll maybe need.
Chat, one for you from Nadabrate, the god himself. Almost everyone needs it. I missed the rest of it because it went off screen. My bad.
Sorry. Production.
Thank you, production. Almost everyone needs it, asks for it, gives it, but almost nobody takes it. What is it? Answer
Responsibility.
Answer in R6 Esports chat, #6Major. Get some responses on Twitter and we'll check those out later on. Don't go Googling it and cheating it for yourself, by the way.
Responsibility.
You ask for it, gives it, take it. Maybe. That's a mind boggler for later on.
Current mind boggler is how Knights are going to go about successfully defending this site. As we said, this really is kind of the last opportunity for a guaranteed win for them, because if they don't do it, then we head into overtime, and at that point there is that huge risk of going on to the third map. So much of this upstairs presence, actually.
We saw this being employed by OKAMI on their defense with the castle holding upstairs, normally supported by Mangoes on the bandit out towards White Stairs. It's a little bit similar, but less invested, I'd say, in holding down Train. Got to be careful, and you can see Wise lying down as well. This angle being held across here by Mangoes. Given he plays in this angle himself when he's defending, I'm not surprised that he's aware of the kind of things that teams can pull off. However, they have now rotated back away. Kind of confused as to why he's ignored the bulletproof that was on the wall. You can just punch it.
Yeah, I was thinking that same thing. I mean, obviously the placement of it is exactly why Knights knew to jump down when they did, but I don't know, whatever floats your boat.
I hope Cutie gets rid of it then. There you go, now it's gone. Okay, good. The problem now is you've probably just seen that there are two pushing up. However, it did feed them a bit of information, and even with a shotgun in hand, nothing really to come from it. Cutie finding that opening kill. The Oryx has been removed. The one that you look at and say, how much trouble can he cause by jumping through the hatches? The answer apparently is not a lot.
the hope to have those late round flanks is now gone. We see this a lot with Oryx. Teams often decide to bring him because of that, but then find that he gets taken down a bit too early, sometimes because the positioning isn't quite right, which we could say the same for Style there as he gets taken down by Strider. That brings a little bit of redemption there for Knights. Mango's going down as well.
Oh, no.
That means the diffuser will now be
white.
nowhere to be seen. Hey, I said nowhere to be seen. You can't say bottom of white.
I'm going to tell you.
The point is, it's not going to be where the rest of the attackers are, and so that's another thing that they have to deal with if they hope to make this attack work.
Misdroning on white is going to cost them so heavily there as well. They do find Strider because he was the one holding at the end of bar, and in this case, him being removed opens up the restaurant area, but it's the same thing as last time, Gio. They've got to get down white, recover the diffuser, get inside the site, and make the plant happen. That's a lot to do inside 10 seconds. They've got it in their hands, but rotating upstairs here, they're going for a drop-in through fireplace. This could be cataclysmic if Dino is holding, but he loses the fight. How does he lose that one? There's still one more holding. 1 second, he's got to go for the plant. The spray comes in, but it's not in the right amount of time. How on earth have OKAMI nicked that one from the jaws of defeat? What a round from them.
OKAMI had no business taking that round, and now the Pittsburgh Knights have this very real problem that they have to face where all of their defenses have been pulled apart, including one which really was in their favor at the end there. Match point, it was right there, and I suppose, well, it's gone now. They were so close to having such a clean 2-0 victory in this series, and now they're going to have to fight for it again in overtime.
They're not Irish, but that is the look of the Irish. 3 fights in a row that they really shouldn't have won or even whiffed the occasional shot on. They hit every single one, and when it looked like Maestro was in a spot to be able to shut them down, when it looked like Castle was in a spot to be able to beat the one dropping through fireplace, they land the critical shots at the exact right moment, and it all comes together for OKAMI. Great round, great execute. I think if you'd rewound that about 10 seconds or so and replayed it, you'd be sat in a spot saying, there's no way here. There's about 10 seconds left. They're having to run up white stairs to go for the drop because there are no options left. Okay, cool, they've done this. There's 1 second left to kill Maestro and get the plant in. It looked impossible, but they made it happen, and they have earned themselves this overtime. They kick things off on defense up on the second floor here in Reading.
Now, something that's worth bearing in mind, actually, is when you look at the round wins, they're the exact opposite of each other on both sides. On both halves so far, the attackers have won the first, 4th, 5th, and 6th rounds, and the defenders have won 2nd and 3rd, which means that even though the sides have switched now, and the Dev Marta High upset in progress, potentially
it looked like it was about to be, and then that was the upset in the last round, though.
Also, hi, Dev, I miss you.
It broke the story.
But what this means is that both of these teams are in situations where they've come to their sites, won them, and then the attackers have been able to take advantage after that. What that means is that even though OKAMI originally won their reading defense, Knights actually came and took it in the last round. Juicy's not going to be taking anything there.
He's all juiced out. The carton is empty. He's got nothing left in the tank. Style brings him down a little bit too comfortably, I'd say, at the very start of this round. That's 30 seconds in as well. I mean, that's kind of the Jaeger's job. You are the expendable one once all those ADSs are down. You get out in the map, you use the carbine, you go gunning people down. It's as simple as that. To kill the sledge here is the big deal, because although there are a few breaching charges for the IQ here to make use of, I'd say they're still somewhat limited in terms of vertical destruction. So that's going to hurt them when it comes to trying to open up these angles that in the last round worked so well for them, if you recall. 2 or 3 kills being found through those reverse vertical angles was massive for them. That isn't going to be an option here without the sledge in my mind.
Yeah, it is going to be significantly harder to do it because you want to be having that kind of control. And you mentioned the breach charge of the IQ. They've been expended.
He
just
knew.
Like Josh has been expended on the side of Knights. So far, OKAMI looking very strong here. Hayward does get a shot in for himself onto Style. That eradicates that Jaeger from the fray, but you still have everybody else to worry about.
He just knew, because Josh did this last round, remember, where he crept towards that shield and shot it, rather than using his gadgets or his utility, in this case both the same thing, to get rid of it. So, well played, well timed. Style does go down, but with 2 kills coming through here, onto the Zofia as well, who also can contribute to that vertical destruction. That is huge for them. They do still have time to play with, mind you, and I'm looking towards Dino on the Capital to make something happen.
Well, there's going to be that, you could say, opening pick there for Strider as they head into the next phase of their attack, combined with the bolts coming in for the Capitao. But Dino has taken a lot of damage, and there's only so much he's going to be able to do before he can get taken advantage of by OKAMI in return. Just looking for these angles here is Strider, and he doesn't want to play too dangerously as he's holding onto the diffuser, and we've seen what happens when that gets lost in unfavorable positions. Looking to see if anyone could be rotating up brown stairs, but actually it's red stairs that they're going to have to be aware of, as that's where Mangoes is situated.
Joker's just poised with a shotgun here. May have a C4 on side as well if he wants to throw it up there like a bouncing bomb through the floor to try and catch someone out. In comes the first fireball. It's a C4 onto the wall of all things to make sure they have the rotation options to go back and push towards pillars. So I like how it's going to enable him to dance back and forth here a little bit, but it's Dino doing the dancing. In fact, the whole Knights are in now. It's more of a group dance as they bring down 2 members on the side of OKAMI. 3 versus 1, and the plant is going down. There should be nothing they can do to stop this one. Going in for the fight. Plant is down. They're outside the building. This is basically unwinnable for OKAMI here, and Knights indeed will take the round. One more, and the 2-0 upset is back on the agenda, but if OKAMI can win it, who knows how that final round goes.
Yeah, they lost their match point, and now they've managed to regain it. They've just got to keep it up, as once again, the sides will switch. Knights, who had a pretty decent kick-off on the defense and started to let it slip a little bit at the end, have now got to face once again what it was that OKAMI brought in those last few rounds that made it so difficult for them to be able to hold on. Now, as we said, OKAMI really had no business winning that last round on Kitchen, and it's unsurprising that Knights have decided that they want to return to Kitchen, as it really was the site that they had the best chance of success on.
Kitchen has been interesting.
Yeah.
Mainly because of all the craziness that we have seen with, I always hate to say it because it happened twice, so I can say it. It's Mangoes. Dying with the diffuser in hand, relatively external to the building. First time was just inside the bakery double door. The next time was just inside the white single door. So I'm hoping that, at least in the inverse here, he's not going to find himself going down too early, because if it strikes 3 times, man, that will be something they're looking at in the coming weeks, no doubt, to try and address these things that go wrong for them.
It's a weird one because I don't want to hark too much on Mangoes, because it's not like he's consistently been playing poorly or anything like that. He's had a number of opening kills. He's done pretty well on a number of the sites. It just seems to be this one that he's struggling with the positioning at the right time.
And the thing is, it's not even just an individual player decision. It's part of the strategy they've all agreed to go for, but it's more that question of what happens if our diffuser player dies here? What have we got drones to protect him to make sure his way in is clear? The answer then was clearly no, as no one had any eyes on white stairs, or if they did, it's still a massive risk having your single player by himself trying to take a gunfight like that.
Very true. So, overtime match point. This is Knights' opportunity to be able to secure themselves the 2-0 that none of us expected to come out. This could be the biggest upset that we see at the moment in the ANZ region. All of those fans in Strya and New Zealand and Polynesia.
I thought you were saying Strider then, rather than Strya.
Strya and Polynesia are going to be sitting there watching this intently to see what it is that's going to happen. OKAMI know that this is their last opportunity to be able to drag in that 3rd map, which would of course be Villa. So far, everyone's still standing, but not even reached past the 1st minute. Dino's getting ready to rotate down should he need to. That was a decision that was made very early by Knights last time, as soon as they saw Mangoes come in through the window into mining.
Contesting the same angle once again. Again, he was the player who was here previously and just walks around. He knows exactly where he's going to be. Easiest pre-fire of his life. Puts things at 4 versus 4. The Star was taken down at the same time, unfortunately.
So not quite the same early success that we saw from Knights before, where they made pretty good timing, but we're seeing everybody else start to move down. Strider and Juicy around VIP, around the brown stairs. They just want to be sure that when OKAMI start to move down, they can either catch them on the rotation or they can collapse into them on the site.
it's just constant front lines that you're pulling back to, right? Angles where you feel particularly strong, where you can contest them as they're coming down the stairs, things like that. Juicy, later in this round, could have a massive potential frag coming, or flank coming out of them, sorry, if he chooses to push upstairs at the right time. Imagine there's a flank drone set at the top watching it. There should be in this case, because small things like that is where it can really cost you rounds if you're not careful.
If Joker decides to jump in towards small bake here, he could find himself getting caught out because of the positioning of, well, I was going to say Josh especially. Hayward has moved back towards into prep, but it's actually going to be Jack Daddy who does get taken out. That's going to make things a little bit weaker here for OKAMI.
They're in together.
Joker's in a risky position. It's going to be Cutie going down and Juicy getting traded out at the same time.
It's this 3 versus 2 that makes it so uncomfortable for them now, I think, knowing again that this is your last chance to keep yourself in it. They did the right thing. They sent 2 of them in towards Bakery to make sure Mangoes was protected with the diffuser, but they've got so much to do here inside 20 seconds. Knowing there are 3 left alive, knowing you've got to deal potentially with the C4 coming out of Hayward. If you try and go for that default plant as well, this could come back to bite them massively. 10 seconds to go. Strider in coach check. They don't even know here. JKR doesn't seem to. He's pushing a red. We'll find a free kill on towards Josh in this case, I imagine. No. Pulls away at the wrong time. The down comes through, but there's a down into JKR. Plants him, but there we go. The closing kill comes through. Knights pull off the upset of the region, bringing down OKAMI and earning themselves a spot in the finals against Wildcard.
I have to say, I don't think I've ever been so happy to be wrong, purely because this is such a big deal for this region. Such a major stage for them. They know they're going to be going up against Wildcard, a team who have proved themselves on the international stage. And when you are the underdog in this matchup and you come away with a 2-0, nothing